Welcome to Lesson 2 of Illustrator, which is techniques for selecting artwork. Creating, selecting, and editing are the cornerstones of working with artwork in Adobe Illustrator. In this lesson, you'll learn the fundamentals of selecting, aligning, and grouping artwork using different methods so you can finish a postcard for a team building event at an old school video arcade. So this is what the start file looks like. You should have these three different artboards when you open that lesson. So the first thing we're going to do is we are going to save it. We're going to click File, File, Save As, and we're going to save it on our computer. Go to your Illustrator Lesson 2 folder, and let's change this to Game Night underscore and your last name. Please submit it as game night with your name. I think I'm going to start taking off points if people don't follow those directions, and make sure it's an Adobe Illustrator file in your Lesson 2 folder and click Save. Click OK. Let's go to Window, and then let's go to our workspace and make sure that we are on Essentials. And then let's reset Essentials so we all are starting fresh like we should be. So whether creating artwork from scratch or editing existing artwork in Illustrator, you'll need to become familiar with selecting objects. It will help you to understand what artwork you'll make in Illustrator called vector artwork is all about. Many methods and tools for selecting and editing, and in this section you'll explore the most widely used, which is the selection and direct selection tools, which we've done already briefly. The selection tool is the one you'll use a lot. You can select, move, rotate, and resize objects with it. In this section, you'll put together the pieces for an arcade joystick using that selection tool. So we need to choose 3 pieces from the artboard navigation window. So you go down here, you see where there's a 1. And mine is freezing up, of course. Ooh. Let me move all of this. Bad part about working on a Mac with 2 different screens. So we're going to choose 3 pieces, and it's going to show up like this. Select the selection tool. It's the one on the top, and move the mouse over different artwork on the artboards, but don't click anything. So just when you look, you'll see that that said center, and you're going to see path. When you move it over things, you're going to see different words and different numbers and all kinds of different things as it passes over those objects. When you hover over something, that object has a color outline like the blue that you're going to see. So move the pointer over the edge, and when you put it over the edge, you're going to see that it says path or anchor or something, depending on where you are, because smart guides are on by default. So it's trying to help you out. Smart guides are temporary guides that help you align, edit, and transform things. So click anywhere inside the larger green circle to select it. So a bounding box with 8 handles appears around it. All content shows a bounding box when selected, and it can be used to make changes. And so you could move it around, you can see how that comes up. You can rotate it, you can do different things with that. So click the smaller green circle to the left. Notice that the larger circle is now deselected, and only the smaller circle is selected. We're going to drag that smaller circle over and put it on the bigger circle about right there. Press the Shift key and click the larger circle to select it, and then release the key. Both circles are now selected, and a large larger bounding box surrounds them. So drag either circle down to the dark gray rectangle area to move both. And doesn't that look like the top part? And I have it centered. You can see the little line there. So as you drag, you saw those magenta lines. Those are your alignment guides, and gray boxes next to the pointer called measurement labels may appear. They're visible because the smart guides are turned on, and they help you align things within that document, and you can note the distance drag, which is the gray labels. Shapes and paths are composed of anchor points, sometimes called points and path segments. Anchor points control the shape of a path segment and work like pins holding a wire in place. A shape like a square is made of at least 4 anchor points on the corners with path segments connecting the anchor points. One way to change the shape of a path or shape is by dragging its anchor points or path segments with the direct selection tool. Next, we're going to come familiar with selecting anchor points using the direct selection tool to reshape a thought bubble. So we're going to select the direct selection tool, which is the one right below it. Click inside the pink thought bubble, and when you do that, you can see its anchor points. Notice that the square anchor points on the edge of the shape are all filled with blue color, which means they are all selected. Also notice the little double circles in the shape. Those are for rounding the path around anchor points. Choose View, and then we're going to zoom in so you can see that a little better. Move the pointer directly over the anchor point on the end of the tail, your thought bubble. And you notice that up here it says Path. Right here it says Anchor. With the direction tool selected, with the pointers right over the anchor port, you see the word anchor. You also notice a little white box next to the pointer. The tiny dot in the white box's center indicates that pointer is over an anchor point. Click to select that anchor point, and then move the pointer away from it. You see how you can move this around, like thus. So I just drug it down and made it a little larger so we can see what's happening. Notice that only the anchor point you clicked is now filled with blue, indicating it's selected down here. The other anchor points are hollow, filled with white, indicating they are not selected. Move the pointer over the selected anchor point and drag it up to make it shorter. Notice when you click on it, see how these are white? This one is not. These are white. When I click on one of these new ones, you see the other one is no longer selected. It's white, and this one is what's selected. So let's do select, deselect. So nothing is selected. Another way to select content is by dragging across what you want to select. That's called a marquee selection, which you can do with either selection tool or the direct selection tool that's selected. So let's click View. Come on, computer. It's the end of the day and it's very tired. We're going to fit Artboard in window so we can see everything. Select the selection tool, the top one, and we're going to select the circles and rectangle that make up part of the joystick. And we could click, hold the shift key and click and so on and so forth, but if we just click right here and drag it down to where it's touching all of those and then let it go, you can see that they are all selected now. So once you do that, release the mouse button, and then we're going to drag this down over the base, and if you see that there's going to be some things that will snap into place to let you know. And so if I click away from that, that now deselects it, and there we've got the base of our joystick done. So now we're going to, the speech bubble needs to be a little shorter in height. So we're going to go to the direct selection tool, And we can select multiple anchor points by dragging a marquee around anchor points and then editing them at once. So drag across just the bottom half of this, don't get the top part, and you can see that these down here are selected. And once you've done that, if you release your mouse button, I'm pressing the up arrow. If you press the up arrow, it moves that up and down, but you notice it only affected the bottom part. It did not affect the top part. If you were to hover your mouse over these, you could see that these are filled in and the ones up here are white. That means they're not selected. Alright, so now we're going to select the selection tool and go over here to this level up and drag this down and center it best you can, and then click away from that to deselect it. And this would be a great time to click File and then Save.